Welcome to the F'd Up Podcast. I'm here today with David Henning, one of my business partners, and we're going to be talking to you about tax-free strategies. We're going to be talking a little bit about crypto. We're going to be talking about taxes and the government and why they print money. And a lot of people don't understand this, but it's one of those things that I think everybody needs to understand. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Right? And if you can understand the game, I've heard you say this numerous times, if you can understand the game of money, right, then you can get yourself ahead. And a lot of people don't understand the game of money. Right?
Yeah, most of us go through our whole life playing the money game, but we don't understand the rules of money. In any game, it's difficult to win if you don't know the rules.
Fair enough. So let's talk about what the government's doing. First off, let's start there. The government, they use taxes obviously to pay for things. I say it's their way of laundering, but either way, they tax us, right? They tax the middle class mostly. The middle class gets hit the worst, right? And small businesses get hit the worst, right? Employees, 9 to 5 employees get hit the worst. But why are they taxing us if they can just print money? What is up with that? What's your thoughts on that?
Taxation is one of the biggest revenue sources for our government.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to preface everything. I want to start off with this. Money in the bank is dead. Okay? I hope you guys understand that. Money in the bank is dead. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, if you put your money in the bank at a savings account, what's an average rate of return do you think people are getting?
Like 0.5%, if that?
It's less than 1%, right?
Yeah.
So if you're earning less than 1% on your money, and inflation is at 3% in a best case scenario, we were up above 7% earlier, right?
And that's what they tell us.
That's what they tell us.
Is that even true? I mean, I see numbers of upwards of 15, 20% inflation.
Well, we're in hyperinflation either way.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So what happens is if you're at an inflationary rate of 7 to 15%, you're earning less than 1%, you're safely losing money because you're losing buying power.
Right.
Right? And here's the popular misconception.
Say that again one more time. We're safely losing money. That's it. We're safely losing money.
Yep, because you're losing buying power when that money is dead and stagnant in the bank. Okay, so here's the deal. Like, people have a popular misconception that they think the government is working for you. It's not. The government is working for the government. So most people think the government is trying to get inflation under control. They are not. Inflation is good for the government. And here's what I'm saying. And this is where it all ties together with money in the bank, okay, and inflation and your buying power. So you have money in the bank earning less than 1%. Inflation is in hyperinflation. You're safely losing money. And inflation is good for the government. Well, what do I mean? Well, you're not making any more money.
Right.
Okay, the government's printing it, but you're not making any money. Now you go to the store, we have inflation. Has anybody been affected by the price of milk, the price of bread, the price of eggs, the price of gasoline?
The price of your car, the price of your home. So many of you have been probably priced out of buying a home. That was caused by inflation. They say, oh, it's the interest rates. No, it's the inflation. Even with a low rate, we got a 3.5% rate on my house. My house is a $700,000 house, and it's worth almost $800,000 today. It's grown by $100,000 in less than 2 years in value. Why do you think that is? It's because of inflation. It's great for me, but if you want to buy a house, my house should not be worth $800,000. It's a nice house, but there's no way it should be worth that. And that's because the government has printed so much money.
Exactly. Well, here we go again with inflation, right? One of the controls the government has to reduce inflation is they raise interest rates, right? So if you were to go buy a home right now, you were to go buy a car, you're going to notice that the interest rates are way higher than they used to be, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's just another way that they're pricing everybody out of the market.
Right.
But on top of that, let me kind of get back to the inflationary talk. What happens is you go to the store, you pay more for that milk, you pay more for that bread, you pay more for eggs, you pay more for gas. Well, why is inflation good for the government? I'll give you a popular example. I like to go to Sam's Club and buy bulk.
Yep.
And my son, he's 17 years old, he eats a ton of eggs. So I used to buy cases of the eggs, right?
Right.
So a case of eggs at Sam's used to be right around $20. Then, you remember when inflation hit, the price of eggs, that same case went up to almost $60 a case.
Holy shit.
I get the same quantity of eggs, the same volume, but I paid twice as much or more. Well, guess what? Those goods are taxed. Same amount of goods, but I'm paying twice as much in taxes.
Higher tax rate.
So why is inflation good for the government? They collect more tax money on the same amount of goods.
Jeez, I never even thought about that.
So inflation is good for the government. Don't assume that the government is wanting to control inflation.
Fair enough. Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit more about, go down that rabbit hole. You've heard of the Creature of Jekyll Island, right? When they took us off the gold standard and they started just printing money. And we can sit here and talk about how that, you're right, that is their only way of legal, it's called legal way of generating income for the government. But what they also do is they print money out of thin air, right? So I want to make sure you guys understand there are two ways they make money. They print it out of thin air and they tax us. And the printing of money, the inflation, is a hidden tax, I call it. You don't really think about it on a daily basis. The average person doesn't really think about it, but you go to the store. I mean, we just went in here where we're eating some public market here, someplace in Tampa, and it's crazy to me how much it costs for a bottle of water. $4 for a bottle of water just to hydrate yourself. So it's actually, it's unbelievable. So we talk about different ways that you can grow and compound your money. There's something called the Rule of 72, which I'm gonna have you explain. I know you've gone over this for 10 years. This is embedded in your brain and how important it is. Albert Einstein is accredited to this formula. And basically it says it's one of the 8 wonders of the world, where if you have time and money at a certain interest rate, you can grow your money X, Y, and Z fast, right? So can you talk a little bit about that so we can educate the guests here on what that is and why it's important to compound your money and grow your money tax-free?
Yeah, so it's basically, it's called the Rule of 72, the rule of compound interest, which just says the earlier you start to save your money, you allow it to work for you, not against you. You let your money grow on itself. So the rule is really simple. You take the rate of return you earn on your money, you divide it into the number 72, and it tells you how long it takes for your money to double.
So as an example, if your money's in the bank getting 1%, it's gonna take you 72 years for your money to double. So if you put in $10,000 at a 1% rate, which you don't even get at the bank, you don't even get, right? You're gonna take 72 years to double your money.
Exactly.
How valuable is that?
So again, money in the bank is dead.
Right, money in the bank is dead. I like that.
It's not really working for you.
It's working against you.
It's because the bank is just leveraging your money.
Right, it's working for the bank.
They're lending it out, in the form of car loans, right? Mortgages, credit cards. And with a credit card, the average rate that they charge now is around 24%.
Right.
So if we apply that same rule for the bank, they're using your money at 24%. They're doubling their money, every 3 years. And if you use it in the form of a credit card, you owe that 24%. Your debt is doubling every 3 years, right?
Your debt is doubling every 3 years on the average credit card.
On the
you guys hear that? If you have credit card debt, your money is doubling every 3 years on average. Think about that for a minute, those of you that have credit cards. By the way, reach out to me if you guys do have a bunch of debt that you want to get rid of. Through Better, we have a debt solution process where we can get your rates way lower and help you eliminate a lot of that debt. But anyways, so I guess let's go further into the tax strategies, right? So a lot of people don't understand what the wealthy understand. So you go to school. We talked about this a little while ago. We actually just did a video and we said this. We go to school and we spend from 5 years old until 18 years old. And not once do they teach us about money. They don't teach us a damn thing about money, right?
Yeah.
How many of you, unless you went to a certain private school, right, you weren't taught about the Rule of 72. You weren't taught about how you can leverage debt, how debt can be good and bad, right? Because there's good debt and bad debt, right?
There is.
There's different things that people need to understand, right? Robert Kiyosaki talks about this a lot. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a great book if you guys haven't read it. But let's talk about tax-free strategies, because the wealthy understand how to use something, the dreaded life insurance word, right? Oh, I don't need that because I don't plan on dying anytime soon. Okay, well, what if you could use that like the wealthy do? Because the wealthy don't buy it just for a legacy. The wealthy buy it because they can turn it into what we call the rich man's Roth IRA, where they can fund the crap out of one of these life insurance policies, grow their money at a 8, 10, 12% interest rate, and not have to worry about losing a dollar. Right? And this is something I learned 10 years ago. I have my mom and my children in one of these. The reason I didn't get one is because I had cancer and it was very expensive for me, or else I would have one. But my mom, my father, my brother, my son, my daughter, my newborn son we're gonna be doing this with, all of your children have one, you guys have this, because you understand that if the wealthy are doing something, then why aren't you? Why is it that people don't understand the tax-free growth inside of life insurance policies?
So these legacy plans are super important. And it's not for everybody. So I want to preface this isn't for everybody. Number one, you do have to be healthy enough and young enough to make this thing work properly, or you have to be able to fund it properly. Okay, and it is a long-term strategy. It's not something you get in and out of. You know, you don't just say, hey, I'm gonna try this out and get out of it.
See, that's what crypto's for.
Crypto's in and out, right? We're talking about long-term generational wealth, changing your family's last name forever type of wealth, right? And we help people do that because we leverage the tax codes, you know, and use them in your favor. This is one of the most efficient means of wealth transference because life insurance is paid out tax-free.
And that's part of the code.
That's part of the code.
So anything that's inside of it is basically like a shield. That code shields your money. Now, another thing for business owners, if those of you that are watching that are business owners, a thing that business owners, myself, I worry about is what if I get sued one day, right? And they try to come after my money. Anything that's inside of a life insurance policy is completely protected. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of protections that are afforded to you when you use life insurance. Liability, you know, from creditors. Liability from people that are trying to sue you.
So like if you go
mentioned.
bankrupt, as an example, they can't touch the money inside your life insurance policy, or how does that work?
That's a tricky topic because in some cases they can. So that's why it's very important to talk to a professional to make sure this is structured properly to protect it from bankruptcy.
So there is a way to do it, you just got to structure it correctly.
You just got to make sure you do it right.
Okay.
Okay, because some people will make a mistake and they can pierce that veil and come after it if you do it improperly.
Okay, now if you do it properly also, say you get sued, right? Probate, any other things that are important that people need to understand?
Yeah, so because life insurance is a beneficiary designation, okay, it supersedes a will, okay, and it does protect you from probate. Okay, but there are, again, you got to make sure you do everything properly and have a professional help you set it up so those things don't occur.
Awesome. Awesome. So here's another thing I want to talk about. I'm going to go back to crypto. I know my following loves crypto, right? Why is Bitcoin going crazy right now? I mean, it's at $73,000. It's smashed through its all-time high, right? And here's my theory on that, is that what we just said about the dollar, right, and how they're printing the crap out of it, it's going to be valueless. We're going to go into hyperinflation. I wouldn't say we're in hyperinflation now, but we are on the path to hyperinflation. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
And it's inevitable that eventually the dollar will implode. You can't keep printing something. You see this in the history of all superpowers, right? You think of the fall of Rome was because of the devaluation of the Roman currency, going from gold and silver coins and stuffing copper into them. And as these goldsmiths and silversmiths, they started to melt this currency down, they realized they separated differently. And they said, wait a minute, this isn't all gold. This is worthless zinc. Right? Well, what are we doing with our dollar? Our dollar, we are printing it into oblivion. And what happens is I say Bitcoin likes to eat dollars, right? That is Bitcoin's favorite meal, right? And the more money that we print, right, the higher you're going to see Bitcoin go, right? Bitcoin is the digital gold of the digital age, which we are going into a digital age.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question because this is your expertise now.
Sure.
Why is it that cryptocurrency is so valuable?
I guess which part, like which one? Are you saying specifically or just all of the
Just
currency?
in general, cryptocurrency.
There's many reasons. One, because of the control, right? Bitcoin can't be created like dollars, right? You can't go in and just say, okay, I'm gonna push a button and we're gonna print $1 trillion for Ukraine. We're going to print 1 trillion Bitcoin for Ukraine, right? That is protected by millions of what they call nodes that are scattered all across the world. And you would need to do something called a 51% attack, which is not humanly possible, right? To do that, to attack every single node simultaneously at the same time, solve the mathematical problem that's stopping you from, it's really a very, very secure network, right? It's been around since 2008 and no one has hacked the actual Bitcoin network, right? Governments have tried it, the CIA, the NSA, the KGB, they've all talked about they cannot hack it. It is virtually unhackable. I won't say impossible, right? Because you never know in this world, but so far it has been unhackable. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. Now, cryptocurrency in general, there's different cryptocurrencies that you guys know of that we talk about all the time. And the big thing for me that I thought was very valuable was the ability to create decentralized applications. So you go on your phone and you download an app on your phone, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, right? Any type of app you want to download, that app is controlled. It is centrally controlled by a Zuckerberg, right? It is centrally controlled by a Jack Dorsey or an Elon Musk, right? And depending on their values and their beliefs, so depending on who is running that application or that social media company or that whatever that company is on that application, they can decide the fate of how that app and where it's going to go, not based on what you believe, not based on what you believe or you believe, but based on their own belief systems. And their belief systems may not resonate with most of America or most of the world, where now you can start building applications that are completely decentralized, right? Where there is no one point of failure, no one contact that can go in and say, we're going to change this because we want to. Now, there are cryptos that are like that. Like Solana is one of them, right? ICP is one of them right now, but they are slowly building more nodes, and the more nodes you have, the more decisions get pushed out to the people, right? But the beauty of it is to be able to give us freedom, give us back our voice, and that's not something that we have. As you know, the government's cracking down on TikTok, right? The House just voted 50 to 0 that they want to ban TikTok. Why do they want to ban TikTok? Do you know why why would you think they'd want to ban TikTok? I'm just curious if you
Because they don't control it.
They don't control it, right? So if we can build decentralized applications on blockchain that aren't controlled by one entity, right? That a government can't come in and say, let's shut it down, right? Because it's decentralized, then we start being able to talk more freely, right? So those are probably the main reasons why I'm big on it. And you talk about transferring of money, right? Right now, transferring of money is very expensive using the SWIFT payment system, or what's the system called that you transfer money? MoneyGram and money. I think it's MoneyGram, stuff like that. There's Western Union, right? They're very expensive. You live in another country. A lot of you do live in another country that follow us, and you know that it's very expensive to send big amounts of money across border, right? Where you can use crypto and send it for pennies on the dollar, right? Peer to peer instead of having an intermediate in the middle, right? So that's why I would say crypto is going to absolutely explode in the future, because it gives us the ability to have our control and our freedom back.
So let me kind of simplify it for somebody like myself who has very little knowledge about crypto and Bitcoin. And we spoke about this earlier. The value of Bitcoin, why is it increasing so much? Well, you mentioned to me that there's a limited supply.
Yes.
So there's a limited supply of crypto, and so it's not like they can just keep printing more Bitcoin. And supply and demand, right? Simple economics, supply, demand, right? So as the demand for Bitcoin goes up, the supply stays the same, so the value goes up.
Correct.
So when they removed the dollar from the gold standard, right? Now there's nothing backing the dollar that limits the supply.
Correct.
So as you increase the supply of the dollar, it decreases the value because there's more out there.
Correct.
So with anything of value, there's a limited supply.
Correct.
And what we're doing is we're not limiting the supply anymore. We're printing more to meet our needs,
Correct.
Which makes our own buying power as an individual much lower.
Perfect example. Yeah, that is exactly what's happening, and that's why we are on this mission. That's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we're on live with you guys right now, so you guys can see essentially or learn about what's happening and how you can position yourself to a point where you can outpace inflation, right? That's why we talk about those insurance tax-free strategies, being able to, one, protect your money, but two, grow it at a compounded interest. You were saying earlier that the rule of 72, you have that 1%, it takes 72 years to grow your money. If your bank is giving you a 0.5%, right? What are you getting? You're doubling your money every 140 years, right? And you're going to be dead before your money doubles. It's insane. And they go out and they use your money to do what with it? They use your money for credit cards and loans, and they're making money off of us, right? But we can't make money off of them. And that's not how the system has always been. That started to happen after the gold standard, because the bank said, well, we don't need them anymore. We can go to the Federal Reserve and have the Federal Reserve create notes, which in turn creates currency, which then we can then get free money from the government at the expense of the people. And that is what's been happening since 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard. And the hope, in a book I tell you guys to read all the time, is The Bitcoin Standard. You can find it on Amazon. I got to write a book. Then I could just
good.
promote my own book, right? But go check out the Bitcoin Standard because it explains all of this, so you guys can sit there and read it in depth instead of just listening. You guys can go back and forth and write notes and really understand what's going on. Talk a little bit about what you do with Vantage and why I came over, if you want to go down that road.
So what we did is we created Vantage as a way for ordinary people to learn about money, to learn these different wealth strategies. And if you wanted to take it even one step further, we can teach you these wealth strategies, we can teach you systems, and you can go out and share this message with other people and help a lot of people in this country right now that don't have that financial literacy.
Back to what we were saying about you go to school for 15 years of your life and you come out and you actually come out less educated about financial services than you went in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can teach you real life application and some of the tools and resources that are available to you that most people never hear about.
All right, awesome. And so in terms of the building model, so I like to compare this to a brokerage, right? We are a financial services broker.
Yes.
Right, where you can come in, and if you are someone who works a 9 to 5 and you realize that that is not your way to financial freedom and you're sick and tired of having a boss, how many of you in the comments here, how many of you are sick and tired of your boss? I'm curious. We got one over here, random person listening behind us. How many of you guys are sick and tired of your boss and you just don't have the money to start a business? And even if you do have the money, where do you go to start? What do you do? Do you have the mentors? Right? And we've met some serious heavy hitters in the last couple of weeks that are literally coming into our company or already part of our company that mentor us really for free. It doesn't cost you a dime.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable. It takes work.
It does take work. It's simple, right? It's simple, but it's not easy.
Correct.
Right? So there is learning involved. So you have to be able to apply yourself to learn the strategies, the concepts, the ideas that we use, because you are going to become a financial professional. Number two, it does take some effort in talking to people and setting appointments and running appointments, as well as following up with people and making sure that we do our fiduciary responsibility to do what's right for them.
Yeah, you are licensed, you are regulated by whatever state you are in. This is only for people that are in the US, by the way, at least right now. We'll be working on Canada very soon. But definitely reach out to me with your name and phone number and email, and we will definitely send you over the number that you guys can text to set up an appointment to learn more. But anyways, let's go back to a question that they had in crypto. We were talking about Uniswap. Your wife and I have been working on Uniswap. You guys have Uniswap, Coinbase Wallet, and you guys asked me something about, so in crypto, there's something that is called a gas fee with Ethereum, all right? And are you familiar with a gas fee? All right,
I know very little about crypto.
Right. So, and that's the point of our company, to educate people on multiple, you know a lot more about certain financial services than I do, but I come and talk to you about crypto and you're like, whoa, and then you tell me about certain tax strategies and I'm like, whoa, right? This is stuff that we all need to know. So
it's
if you guys—
a collaboration of finding out all these different financial concepts and ideas.
Right. Actually, this Thursday, tomorrow, we have Adam Young, who is a professional bodybuilder who won Mr. Colorado back in 2017. He is coming on one of our company calls, and I actually have him coming on our call, which is really cool, to talk about fitness and health. So we add all of those 5 pillars in. But back to the gas fees, for some of you that were asking that question, you go into Uniswap or Coinbase Wallet or PancakeSwap, and you're saying, wow, I only have $300 and the gas fee is $80, $120. Here's the unfortunate part. You cannot get rid of the gas fees. I know you guys want a different answer, but it's not possible. As Ethereum becomes more used, the gas fees become higher. Here is what is coming though. There is an upgrade with Ethereum. The reason why Ethereum has been pumping is 2 reasons. There's an upgrade called the Dan Kuhn update that's coming in the next 60 days, I believe. And the Dan Kuhn update is supposed to make the gas fees dramatically less expensive. So that's going to be actually very positive for Ethereum. And then on top of that, Ethereum, we're probably going to have an ETF. BlackRock filed for an ETF in a couple of months. They're going to get an answer yes or no. Regardless, they're going to get an answer of a yes eventually. It's just a matter of, is it going to happen in a couple months or the end of 2024 or into 2025. But I think Ethereum eventually will have an ETF, which will allow big money to flow in, which is the reason why Bitcoin has been flying well before the halving, because smart money gets in now, and then they use dumb money as exit liquidity. That's how I explain it, right? That's just the facts, right? But what is a gas fee? Essentially, Ethereum, there's people that are working on systems on Ethereum that are verifying transactions, and they need to get paid. These people need to get paid to run the network, and the gas fees are what are paying these people. So the Dan Kuhn update is going to make that a lot cheaper, a lot faster. Ethereum will be a lot faster, more transactions per second. But it is a bummer right now, because as Ethereum is used more and more as we go into a bull run, it's becoming more expensive. But let's hope that Dan Kuhn update will help us with that. But that's why other cryptos such as Solana and ICP and Cardano are blowing up right now, and they're gathering more traction, because people understand that these fees are not sustainable. The every average day person is not able to go in and transfer cryptos back and forth and do this in a decentralized way when they have to pay $80 to $100 per transaction. When you want to put $100 in, you're only able to buy $20 worth. It becomes unrealistic to the average person. This will be a problem that is solved eventually. So we're gonna go over something called the 3 rules of money for you guys. It's very important. So we'll go over that with us.
Yeah, so 3 rules of money. Number 1, the rule of 72, the rule of compound interest. Super important. You just take the rate of return dividing the number 72, tells you how long it takes your money to double. So I like to use real life examples. 1%, for example, 1 goes into 72 times. It would take your money 72 years to double at this rate. Well, what's a good example of that? The bank, right? Savings account, CDs, where you're earning like 1% or less on average. Okay, so not the most efficient means to grow your money. Second one is like, what if you grow your money at 4%? Now 4 goes into 72 every 18 years. So now your money doubles every 18 years. What's a good example of that? Well, whole life policies, for example, pay like a 4% dividend. Okay, so now your money's doubling every 18 years. Then we have like 6%. What's a good example of your money growing at 6%? It's mutual funds. If you Google the average rate of return on a mutual fund over the last 40 years, you're gonna find out it's about 6%. So at 6%, your money doubles every 12 years. Better, still nothing great, right? So you need to get a higher rate of return. Some of these vehicles actually offer 10% plus. Okay, so if I asked you right now, do you want your money to grow at 1, 4, 6, or 10% plus? What would you choose, Tyler?
10%.
10%, no brainer, right?
Yes.
Okay, second rule of money. How does your money grow? There's 3 different ways your money can grow. Fixed, variable, indexed. Fixed is the bank again, the savings account, money market, CD. It's a fixed rate of return. It's only gonna grow so fast. You're not gonna lose any money, but you really don't gain very much. Then there's the variable market, your 401ks, IRAs, stocks, mutual funds. Here you have all that potential for gain, but you also have potential for loss, risk and reward. And the third one is called an index strategy. If you look up Warren Buffett, one of the best investors of all time, huge advocate of the indexes. So with an indexing strategy, here you have the potential for your money to go up, mirrors the market, but not in the market. Money goes up, we lock in the gains. Money goes up, we lock in the gains.
So like say the S&P 500 does 12% that year, you're getting 12%.
You can get 12%.
Okay.
Fixed, variable, indexed. Which way would you want your money to grow?
Probably indexed.
Yeah, and the third rule of money, the one that's probably gonna eat up most of your assets, is taxation. You know, there's tax now, right, which is your bank accounts, CDs, money markets, you get a little bit of growth, and then at the end of the year, they tax you on it again, right?
Then there's tax later.
There's tax twice. Then there's tax later, 401ks, IRAs, put that money away, it's allowed to grow tax deferred. You get some tax savings now. Tax deferred just means it doesn't get taxed as it grows, but you have a huge tax liability when you retire. It's 100% taxable when you retire, whatever income bracket you're in. And then there's tax advantage, Roth IRAs, investment grade life insurance, municipal bonds. That money you've already paid income tax, grows tax deferred, grows faster, and then when you access it later, when you need it the most, 100% tax free.
I'd rather have that one. I know where you're going with this.
Tax advantage, right?
I'd rather have that.
I would rather have advantaged in the name.
All right.
Right? So we can help you control your tax rates.
I like it. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, man. This has been awesome. Like always, make sure you guys like, share. If you're not following yet, welcome to the F'd Up podcast, and we will talk to you soon.